when you start making a lot of money and you're not used to making money, you don't know what to do with it. And what happened with me, I won't say that for everybody. What happened with me is I reflected on worldly views of what to do with money. So,
welcome to Drop and Give Me 20, where you learn keys to entrepreneurial success as Lindsey Germono interviews business owners with military backgrounds on what works and what doesn't. Listen as they focus on the stories, both challenges and wins, that military entrepreneurs have faced in growing their businesses.
Welcome to another episode of Drop and Give Me 20. I am your host, Lindsey Germono, and this is my first interview I've done in person. So it's really exciting because I can actually see the person that I'm interviewing. So I am here today with Jim Friddell. Jim, good afternoon.
Well, good afternoon, Lindsey.
You have a nice radio voice. Must be.
You're the first one to say so.
Must be something in the family, huh?
If it was genealogically, yes. But, yeah. So just all you out there, my wife is a DJ, and she has the best job in the world. I, on the other hand, deal with numbers and dollars, and it puts her to sleep when we talk about it.
So, Jim, for those that are listening, why don't you explain a little bit about what you do and tell us about your time in the service.
Great. So I am a senior partner in a financial planning firm that we started 6 years ago now. We just hit our 6-year anniversary. And what we do is we work with families, military or not, and business owners preferably, to help them with their financial planning. And that's just about as broad as you can get. However, people have goals in mind when they think about what they want to do in life. And it's not about how much money they save. It's not about how they're invested. I want to be able to not have to work as hard someday. I want to be able to help my kids get through college, financially anyway. They're going to have to toe the line themselves. I want to be able to buy a house. I want to be able to buy a bigger house. I want to be able to buy a second home or a lake home, a vacation home. And when you tackle those things by yourself, sometimes it almost becomes an insurmountable issue. And you don't know where to start. You just know that you want to do it. And you start researching, and it becomes very frustrating because, oh, by the way, you either have a family that's taking up time, or you have a job that's taking up time, or you're deployed, or you're doing something else. And it just gets pushed behind. Well, we're trying to help people bring those goals back to light and say, let's take a look at this. Let me help you get it accomplished. Let me work for you to really look at the numbers. I'll do all the heavy lifting. You just got to describe it to me so that we can work through it. That's what we do as a company. And then my background in the military, I was in the Marines, once a Marine, always a Marine, but I was active duty. You were a Marine. Active duty for 7 years as an infantry officer. And I was commissioned in 97. I was out in 04. What did you do when you were in? As an infantry officer, I was a platoon commander. I was company XO. And then I was platoon commander again for my B billet. And then I went off to be the training and education officer for a battalion here locally, the Security Force Battalion. Did you know that you wanted to one day have your own business back then? I don't know if it was necessarily formulated like that. The first thought of getting out of the military was probably 2003. And that's when I met my now wife. As we went through, and those that are listening know the drama of getting ready for deploying, op tempo as we call it, it's straining. It's straining on a relationship. And I saw the strain that it put on our relationship as we were dating. And that's where I took the opportunity when stop loss was lifted to say, I'm gonna try something different. Plus, she was a local DJ. She had a great job, had good pay, and I was thinking, why be selfish at this point? I've had a great experience in the military. Why not try to do something else, and we can stay locally? We don't have to move. So I didn't necessarily think about owning my own company. I just knew I needed a job right at that point, and I needed to pay enough to cover our mortgage and rent and all that stuff. That's my initial thought. as I started looking for things to do, one of the things that intrigued me with an economics background is investing. And TSP was starting to ramp up at that point. People were starting to contribute. Remember, TSP is relatively new to the military anyway. When I say new, I mean, it's like 17 years old now. But in any case, that was new. And so I was talking to Marines about that, about how to save and what does that mean. And I was also very engaged in economic conditions globally and what's going on with the government and spending. And it just seemed like a good transition. And then when they told me, because they lie to you flat out, you can make as much money as you want being a stockbroker.
Oh.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And I was like, oh, heck yeah, I'm in. I know that
Right.
as a Marine and just as a person, I have a very good work ethic. If I'm taking on a responsibility, I want to make sure I do it well. And that was ingrained in me. It was further ingrained in me when I joined the Marine Corps. And I knew that I could outwork 90% of my, anybody I was competing against. So I'm going, okay, if I can make unlimited amount of money and I have an awesome work ethic, this could really make a go of it. This could be something for us. And so I did. I started out actually doing planning and investment management for military families. And that was a awesome transition out, because I was still working with the military and I was doing something that I thought would be extremely valuable both to them, but also to my family, for my family.
But you were working for someone else.
I was working for somebody else. It turned out I did not like the company that I was working with.
Okay.
We had a difference of opinion on what the client needs and what they don't need. And because of this conflict of interest, I couldn't stay there. But I still, through that process of figuring out what I feel the client needs and looking at their, everything that they have and their cash flow, how much can they save and all this stuff, I really got into it. So I wanted to do that. I just didn't know where. Luckily, UBS, so I interviewed with Morgan Stanley, Merrill Lynch, UBS, and Smith Barney. And when I met with UBS, they were looking for somebody like me, somebody young, relatively speaking, and a go-getter, somebody who was going to be a hard worker. And I remember them telling me, I don't know if we've ever talked about this before, the guy that interviewed me said, we are going to give you one of those little beach shovels and expect you to dig a ditch the size of your house. And I'm like, you are out of your mind. You're in sales. I mean, you're you're not selling this very well. But I'm like, you know what? I've never failed at anything. I'm not going to fail now. Mm-hmm. I'm going to take this head on. And I'm glad I did. I really did well. My first 5 years, I made vice president of accounts, and then I moved up to vice president of investments, which is a very quick ascension. Yeah. So here I am. At the time I was 32, vice president, thinking, man, this is awesome. And I was making pretty good money. I'm like, this is what I want to do. We had, the problem is in 2007, 2000 through 2009, some of you may remember the market went through a serious correction. It was a very, very scary time for all my clients. And what I realized was investments are not the solution to everything. And that was the industry I was in.
I know. I'm like, how do you come to work knowing that in the back of your mind that you feel that way, but you're supposed to wear another hat when you're at work, right? And say what you want to say. That's
right. So I'm getting paid to help people with their investments, and I'm thinking to myself, this is not the only way to do it.
Right.
At that point, I chose to start studying for the CFP, the Certified Financial Planner. And it's like a master's degree in financial planning. So investments, insurance, taxes, estate planning, all of that stuff goes into play.
Not just investments.
Not just investments.
Right.
And in fact, investments is one of 6 things that we talk about. So that's the role it plays. It is an important role, but it is not the only role. I brought that information back to UBS at the time. And they were not interested in building what I thought would be the end, the like answer to this problem. Yeah, a comprehensive team.
Right.
No one person is smart enough to do everything. Mm-hmm. And when I looked at the insurance stuff, and that's how I call it, the insurance stuff. I'm very technical. That stuff. The insurance world is extremely detailed. Most people think, oh, there's term insurance, there's whole life insurance, there's disability insurance. Yeah, I get it. No, I mean, there's so much more to it, and how you can use it, and tax benefits, and all kinds of things that go into it. Meanwhile, I'm really good at investments, according to myself. Really good at investments. That's what I really know.
Right.
And how to manage risk and all that. So just in learning that, I knew I was going to have somebody else help me. And then you have the retirement plans for corporations. You have group benefits. You have taxes.
Which is too much for
it's
one
too much.
person.
And
it makes me overwhelmed just thinking about, I don't even know the definitions to all of that stuff. How would you have even, there's no one-stop shop for that. I mean, you would have to divvy that up and get partners and space that out so everybody has a specialty or something that they can focus on.
Well, and if you think about it, if you go to an insurance company, they're going to be really good at selling you insurance, and they don't know much about investments.
Right.
And that's how the industry is set up. If you go to an investment house, they know a lot about investments, very little about insurance. And then who's talking to you about taxes? And when do all three of those people actually talk and work on your benefit? When do they all sit down and go, okay, how are we here to help Steve?
Right.
And we're going to work together, and you're going to have to give up some commissions because it's in his best interest. It's not working. It's broken.
So you went from Marine, then there was an opportunity that presented itself after you got out of the service, and now you're at this place where you're working for a great company, you have a great, title, and everything's going really well. But in the back of your mind, you're like, there's something else here that we could be doing, or that could be doing better. So
I think back to my father's saying of, "You don't know what you don't know," and
isn't that a military term, though?
Maybe so. The other one is, the more you know, the more you don't know.
Okay.
So the more you learn, the more I learned about my industry, the more I realized there's so much more that I just don't know. And my goal at that point was to create this comprehensive team. Damn the torpedoes. We're gonna make it happen. I managed to align myself with an insurance agent. And deep down, he knew that this was something that was broken too. He's like, I know how to do insurance. I'm taking on these investment accounts. I'm doing them a very big disservice by doing so, because I really don't. I'm not living up to what they really need. I just don't know enough about that side of the house. And so as we had one coffee, that coffee turned into a 2.5-hour meeting about our dreams and aspirations of creating a company. And from there, we started the planning process. And it took us 2 years to build out what we thought was going to be the right financial structure, the right elements in the business plan as far as goals, expectations, administrative organization, all the things that I knew go into our worlds. We took our time to do. We both saved up as much money as we could, because we knew right out of the gate, all my income turns off the day I leave UBS.
Everyone needs to hear that more and more. I think that when we go into launching our business, there are so many people who have this really false expectation of, I'm going to go from this amount of money per month or per year right into making money. And it can take, I think on average, I was reading the other day, now up to 3 years to get to that comfort zone of wherever you were, before. If you were making 80,000, it can take that long. So this is really important to cover, because as folks that are listening are thinking, yeah, I'm going to go out and launch my own business. It's important to plan accordingly and plan it right, but also maybe not cut off what you're doing just to jump right into launching that business, right? So maybe pad yourself so that you can do that. And the other guest on the show, Jonathan Corson, he mentioned that too. So he's currently active duty, And he was sharing that, there are folks that come in to his, he does like counseling or whatnot when they're getting ready to get out. And that he'll ask them, so what do you plan to do for money? And they're, well, I'm going to launch my own business. And they just think this is going to be great. And he's like,
right.
Okay, hold on. Because he has his own business. He's active
right.
duty. And, and he's like, hang on, let's plan this out so that it's smart. So I think it's really great to hear that. I know it's probably not great at the time, but it took you that long to prepare and to get everything, all the ducks in the row so that, once you were ready to go, everything was ready. And finding a partner that made sense for you too.
Right. Right. And during that time period, we actually found our third partner, which was a blessing as well. He turned out to be great. He focuses on corporations, corporate benefits, corporate transition planning, meaning that, somebody's selling to somebody else, how to plan for that, or is it going to stay in the family type thing. So taking that time was extremely beneficial. It really was. And having the capital is huge because the more capital you have, now obviously you don't want to wait till you have so much capital that you're going, you don't push yourself as hard.
Right. We have money. We can blow it on this. Yeah.
We're going to spend it on this type of thing and
right.
this, but having enough to think to yourself, I have the next 6 months income covered.
Mm-hmm. But after that, you need to make sure that you've got.
After that, it starts to trail off.
Yeah.
And that's what I said. I'm like, I have 6 months to get as many clients over from my old company as possible, and we're going to start hitting the pavement, and we're going to go find new clients as fast as we can. We did a very good job of that, and things happen for a reason. Which is part of my faith, that the more I trust in God, the more He's there to hold me and keep me safe, all that stuff. But in any case, it is as we transition and you're going with so much fear.
Yeah.
I remember so in my world, when you quit, you walk in, you hand a letter, and you walk out.
Yeah.
And that's it.
That. Yeah.
Right. So
you
they
don't
lock
hang out
your doors.
for 2 weeks.
You don't get to hang out. You don't get to chat with anybody.
Yeah, they escort you out.
They do. So I dropped my letter off. I walked across the street to a bar, took a shot, and said, "Let's get this going.
Let's go.
Let's do this." And it has been good. It's been great for our clients.
I did the same thing, except I skipped the bar. I went directly from putting my notice in. My industry is the same. You don't stay because there's accounts and stuff. So leaving and driving there directly to my corporation lawyer and signing the paperwork to form, like that same day, within that same hour. So, but it was planned. I knew when I put my notice in that was going to be the case. This was all, a plan and not, I think I'll quit today and then I'm going to sit around and think of what I'm going to do next. No, I had a.
Yeah.
I didn't go to the bar, though. I probably should. That would have been...
You got to go to the bar. I wouldn't change that for the world. Wow.
We should record this in the bar next time.
Right. There you go.
So I want to ask you, I didn't run this by you beforehand because I didn't want you to, get all up in your head about your face. You're like,
Great.
What? You're just going to ask me. What's a mistake that you made when you went into your own business? Well, you don't have to list them all.
Right. No, the list is long. Even with all that time of courting the right partners and looking through the expenses, and there's only so much you can do. And then the rest, in the Marine Corps, we always say, once you cross the LOD, the line of departure, just expect it all to go wrong.
Okay.
And have some flexibility built into the plan so that you know how to deal with it as best you can. And then fight your way like hell to get through it. So we did that. We crossed the LOD. We started our business. We were off and running. Our first year was better than expected. Our second year was way better than expected. So we were doubling our revenues at that point and going into our third year. And what happened to us where we had a struggle was with greed. We had a greed issue. And when you get greed issues, then you also have to deal, having partners. Realize that if you're starting a business and you're starting it with partners that have a voice, that voice can be good, that voice can also be conflicting. And it's not just all about your way, it's about our way.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've had to work through that. And it took 2 years, essentially, of working through that to a point where we're stable now. We're good. We both, all three of us, we're doing well in revenue. But our business model is not like it was before, and it's just a challenge that we have to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
But that's nothing you can necessarily see going in. Maybe I could have, maybe I couldn't have, but I didn't see that. I also didn't know how it would affect me when you start making money.
Mm.
That can be as scary as not making money.
Talk to me about that. What's that? What do you mean?
Well, when you start making a lot of money and you're not used to making money, you don't know what to do with it. And what happened with me, I won't say that for everybody. What happened with me is I reflected on worldly views of what to do with money.
Mm.
So in society, if you have money, what do? You buy nicer things.
Bigger house,
mm-hmm. Better schools,
mm-hmm.
all the stuff that goes with it, all the brand management you have with your clothing. And
mm-hmm.
it became obnoxious. And I started to question what was going on.
It doesn't seem like you at all. Like, I know you, and I don't think I could see you that way, but then again, I wasn't around you during that phase. So I think the same thing happens when you start getting a lot of press and recognition. You
mm-hmm.
have to be really careful about not letting that get to your head, and that's something that, like, I have experienced. And the funny thing about me is, not a lot of people know this, is I do not like attention. So even like speaking in front of groups, I would much rather talk about a subject or something else than talk about myself. Mm-hmm. It's just a really weird, like, I get super nervous about it. So that happened along the way in my business too, is as soon as all this press and starts coming out, I was like, oh God, I don't know how to deal with this. And I really needed to, like, stay down here so that my head wouldn't get blown up, and I didn't get egotistical or anything like that. And I still remained kind of true to why I started the business, what I love to do, what is it that I'm here to do, and why I'm doing it. Instead of, well, now am I this up here? Am I
mm-hmm.
this person that everybody's making me out to be? So it's,
you are.
It's
You're awesome.
Thanks. Thanks. That's why you're on the Dropping Give Me 20 show. You can go home now.
Yeah, I think that is just a big challenge, is the money side. Yeah. But also, here's the weird side to this too, is that we were making a lot of money, and then we went through a phase where we didn't make that much money.
Mm-hmm. Oh boy!
And you forget here's the fundamentals of financial management, and we are financial advisors, right? And
yeah.
So we were spending our capital, we were spending it on marketing, on fun events, trips,
right,
all of that, because we thought, oh, we're going to make more coming up. Mm-hmm. And when we started losing some of the revenues, it was a quick change. Yeah.
So we're coming up to over 20 minutes. I told you we can just sit here and talk all day. I want to ask you what you apply as a Marine to your business. Is there anything that you learned you've had good values?
I learned a lot of things. Absolutely.
We might have Marines listening to this, so.
That's right. Loyalty.
Okay.
Dedication. That we had an acronym, JJ, did tie buckle. Justice, judgment, all of every letter stood for something. But loyalty, dedication, and the last one is not one of those letters, but compassion.
Okay. Both
for my clients, but also for my family.
Mm-hmm.
You can't forget about you have two parties that you have to focus on at the same time, and if you let one slip, you come out of balance.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to dedicate yourself to making sure that you are spending quality time with both sides. And I've found that as long as I do that, faith being overarching on both of them, my life stays in balance.
Right. Nice. Sometimes that's really hard to do, especially if you're really stressed out with work and need to address things. But
when you're having a slow month, when you're having a slow quarter.
I know.
It
When I
becomes
saw
hard.
you, when we pulled up, you were like, oh, my day has been crazy. Jim has 4 kids and, they're running them crazy. So, well, I want to thank you for your service. I want to thank you for your time today and coming on, sharing your story with us.
Mm-hmm.
For those that may want to reach out to you, how do they do that? I know you're on LinkedIn. And
I am. So just look up Jim Friddell.
I think you're in James Friddell. Are you under Jim or James?
On LinkedIn?
Yeah.
I think it's under Jim.
Okay.
My email is james@opusva.com, opusvirginia.com. And really, those are the 2 best ways. You can also go to www.opusva.com, and you'll find our website.
Cool. I just looked you up. Look at that nice picture.
That is a handsome dude.
So Jim Friddell, LinkedIn, you can definitely reach out to him if you are a military service member. You know you're in good hands with a fellow veteran. So, and please reach out to him. Jim is great. I've known him for quite some time. Thank you so much for your time today.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to Drop and Give Me 20, brought to you by Germono Advertising Company in Norfolk, Virginia. Please visit our podcast in iTunes, click on subscribe, and leave us a review. Your support goes a long way. When you subscribe and leave reviews, it helps the guests on our show as well. Jump in and let us know what you think. You can also follow all of our guests on the Drop and Give Me 20 Facebook page. We have Instagram and Twitter. Those handles are Give Me 20 Podcast. I'm your host, Lindsey Germono, and I appreciate you listening to the show.